The From a Future Past banner features 4 second generation characters from Fire Emblem Awakening. We have Pan's son, Yarne, Sully's daughter, Kjelle, or Kjelle, however you want to say it, but I'm going to stick with Kjelle for this video. Next we have Maribel's son, Brady. Last we have Noe's daughter, Na. In this video we'll cover each of these units' stats, skills, and talk about their playstyles with some build options. Let's get started. First we have Yarne, who I believe is the last of the 3DS era of beast units. While I'm sure they want to put out enough beast units for some variety, I still think they put out so many so soon because then they can start rolling out these seasonal beast alts. Maybe we'll see some this summer. Anyway, Yarne is a green beast cavalry, joining Ranulf and Caden. His stats include 40 HP, 35 attack, 33 speed, 32 defense, and 17 resistance. Yarne's got a healthy attack stat and his speed is only slightly above average, but don't worry, both are in a good spot for his base kit. His HP and defense are okay too, and his clear weakness is magic damage. For his old skills, Yarne is stacked. He comes with Gale Force and has attack and speed solo for tons of offensive power. With his 3 movement he can easily activate it, and he even has odd speed wave if that wasn't enough. Yarne's B skill is Escape Route, which may seem a bit odd here, but it actually has some neat synergy with his kit. I'll discuss this more after we learn about his unique weapon. Yarne's weapon is the Bunny Fang that grants a flat +3 speed, bringing him up to 36 base speed, and with attack and speed solo and odd speed wave, I would say he doesn't have to worry too much about speed. Like his mother, Bunny Fang is effective against cavalry, which is nice, and after combat, if Yarne's HP is less than or equal to 75%, he gets -2 special cooldown. Now this is a pretty cool effect because Bunny Fang activates before things like Gale Force does its activation check, which can then allow it to proc Gale Force after getting that 2 cooldown. So if Yarne can bring Gale Force down to 2 cooldown on his own, and he gets below 75% HP, Bunny Fang will always ensure Gale Force activates, which is very nice. Many Gale Force users like Tabarn, for example, need to use Heavy Blade or Flashing Blade to charge that massive 5 cooldown in 1 round. However, Yarne doesn't need to run those necessarily since he just needs 3 charges, which is easily doable if he doubles a melee enemy. Altogether, Yarne has a pretty well thought out kit. He has 3 movement for long range initiations and gets a ton of extra speed to help get doubles. If he can get 3 cooldown charges in a fight and ends up on low HP, Bunny Fang activates Gale Force, and guess what? If Yarne is also under 50% HP, he can then use Escape Route to peace out afterwards. Now, it's not a foolproof plan since that 75% HP threshold must be met, and if you're attacking things like blue units, Yarne may not drop low enough to get Gale Force to proc. The good news is that the Beast Cavalry bonus is very good for initiating since it stops a follow-up attack, so Yarne can actually attack stronger enemies to get into the lower health range. Fury is an option as well, but attack and speed solo is so strong, I don't know if you want to replace it. Desperation and Vantage could be pretty fun. If you run 3 turn specials like Luna, as long as Yarne is in Desperation range, he can continuously proc them on the second Desperation hit, thanks to Bunny Fang. Vantage can work with Aether for sustain, but maybe you don't want to heal above 75% HP necessarily. While we discussed that a pro for Bunny Fang is not needing Heavy Blade for Gale Force, it's actually still quite useful for Yarne. For example, he can get 2 hits onto ranged units who can't counter him, and Heavy Blade would allow him to proc Gale Force, assuming he's already in Bunny Fang activation range. Whereas without it, you can't do this since he would need 1 extra cooldown charge. Overall, Yarne is a pretty scary unit as an initiator if he's transformed, and can activate Gale Force easily too. He's sort of like a green version of Leaf, and you need to be careful from letting him initiate onto you first. Compared to the other green beast units, Yarne is easily the most offensive one at the moment. My second unit is Kjelle, who is a Lanced Armor unit. Kjelle has 47 HP, 40 attack, 22 speed, 37 defense, and 20 resistance. She's definitely not getting fancy with high speed or anything, just a good old slow tanky army unit. 40 attack is very high, and her great HP, defense, and decent res stats make Kjelle pretty darn formidable. Kjelle's old skills include Draconic Aura, no surprise with her sky high attack stat. She also has Bolt Fighter, which completely bypasses her low speed stat, giving her a follow-up attack and cooldown reduction to proc her special. Really not much else needs to be said when you have a 40 attack armor unit with Bolt Fighter. Kjelle's weapon is the Barrier Lance Plus. If a foe initiates combat, grants +7 resistance during combat. So basically this is just a different version of Berkut's Lance, and it's also inheritable, a very popular weapon type, and you can refine it with extra resistance for +11 resistance and +5 HP, which is a ton of extra magical bulk. Kjelle's res stat isn't super low, but with that much extra res, she's going to be a solid wall. It's a completely enemy phase weapon and a nice weapon for any bulky tanks. Kjelle's second new skill is ARD, Defense and Resistance 3, another Aether Raids only skill, but this one might grab some attention. It's the defense version, which I think is much more consistent than the offense variant, since you can choose where to set up your own structures. At max potential, plus 10 defense and resistance is a lot, and stacking defense combat buffs isn't exactly uncommon. Imagine a line of armor units with ward armor, and this skill, good lord, that's a lot of stats. Kjelle may be slow, but she will be an absolute wall if she gets another plus 7 or plus 10 defense and res, plus it stacks with the Barrier Lance's bonuses too. The Aether Raid skills get a lot of negative attention, and while I agree that the offense versions aren't very good, don't sleep on these defense variants. Kjelle is a pretty simple army unit, no super fancy gimmicks besides the Aether Raid skill, but even that's just a stat boost. She is very slow, but has tools to cover both the player phase and the enemy phase. Kjelle can easily be a defensive wall thanks to her high HP defense and res thanks to Barrier Lance Plus. As an armor unit, she also has Warrior Fighter or Vengeful Fighter to abuse, and can definitely run things like Distant Counter or Fortress Defense and res. On the other hand, her monstrous 40 base attack and default Bold Fighter opens up the way for pure damage output. For that route, you'll want things like Death Blow and Armor March, and a more offensive lance. Kjelle is just a better Effie or Gwendolyn, but of course availability is a consideration should you want to merge her. Overall, a good armor unit despite having no unique weapon. Our third unit is Brady, who is an infantry healer. He sports 41 HP, 33 attack, 32 speed, 23 defense, and 20 resistance. Nothing super special, but solid stats all around for a healer. 33 attack and 32 speed isn't breaking records, but it's definitely usable for more offensive setups, even more so with a boon. His defensive stats aren't crazy either, but Brady can definitely take a hit, which is always nice should things get dicey. Brady has a ton of ode skills. Slow Plus is a staff that applies a -7 speed debuff and has a good 12 might. Recover Plus is a great healing skill and very consistent. Healing Light heals all allies for a little bit. Infantry Rush is pretty nice to see, granting infantry allies within 2 spaces the effects of Heavy Blade. Brady is a pretty standard healer. However, he does come with a new skill. Attack and Res Push gives the user +5 attack and resistance if they start a fight with full health. If they attack, then they must take 1 recoil damage. So healers cannot use a lot of stat boosting skills, but push skills are ones they can take advantage of. It's great for the first battle, but because of the recoil damage, the user must find a way to heal up afterwards. Honestly, not the best skill out there, but for a healer, I think it's fine to have. Brady also makes good use of the extra attack and resistance, so you'll probably want to keep it on him. Much like Kjelle, Brady isn't bringing anything exciting or new. Healers can also customize their weapon healing skill and special to pretty much whatever a player wants. There's not really a must-use set. As an infantry healer, Brady has decent attack and speed and can go for more offensive healer builds if you give him premium fodder like attack and speed push or solo. Otherwise, since he comes with the slow staff, it's not a bad idea to support teammates with speed increasing buffs. He can use the simple hone speed buff or even chill speed to single out a target when he can apply his debuffs. If you want to use attack and res push, I would recommend giving Brady Live to Serve or Renewal because he needs some way to regen HP. Brady may not be a powerhouse, but he's perfectly fine for a healer and can fill any healing roles for a team. Last we have Na, and she is going to be an interesting unit. Na is a red infantry dragon with 44 HP, 34 attack, 25 speed, 38 defense, and 32 resistance. Those are some crazy stats, and she literally almost has the same BST as Kjelle, who is an armor unit. Similar to Kjelle, Na has solid HP, defense, and resistance while sacrificing speed. 34 attack is also not bad at all. She's going to be similar to Yarne and Adult Tiki in terms of stat spread, except in most cases, Na is just straight up better. Really crazy stuff. Na has Bonfire as her special, which is no surprise. With that amazing 38 base defense, she brings bonus doubler into the permanent pool, which basically doubles any field buffs on her. Already has a ton of stats, why not add more? For her B skill, Na has quicker post for scoring follow-ups when initiated on first. I'm sure you can tell, but she is just a prime enemy phase tank, except it gets better. Na's unique weapon is Oracle Breath, a 16 might Dragonstone that grants another +3 flat attack. In total, Na will have a very good 53 attack with weapon equipped. For its effect, if a bonus granted by a skill like Rally or Hone is active on Na, the foe cannot make a follow-up attack. Oh boy, so not only is she tanky, but she can stop follow-ups too. Field buffs are very easy to apply for enemy phase baiting, and Na has bonus doubler too, which allows her to double up on those. If you can support Na with field buffs, she can handle the rest herself. Unfortunately, Na doesn't have an innate self-buffing ability, but you can fix that with skill inheritance if you want to. She is very much like a red version of Myrrh or even Legendary Hector, both who can stop enemy follow-ups while using quicker post to retaliate with their own. Very good weapon and very easy to activate. Our last new skill is probably the craziest surprise of this banner. Infantry Breath is a C skill that grants adjacent infantry allies the effect if foe initiates combat, grants +2 defense and resistance, and special cooldown charge +1 per attack. This is so good because it basically grants the cooldown reduction power of steady breath type A skills. The extra defense and res does not matter, we want that amazing cooldown reduction. This is such a strong buff in my opinion, and while it's not a 2-space range like other infantry only buffs, it's meant for enemy phase anyway, and you can set up for that very easily. There are going to be some insanely fun builds to try with Infantry Breath, since any steady or warding breath user can now literally replace those skills with other powerful A skills if you want. Distant Counter comes to mind immediately, and any good stat booster will be a fine pairing. What's also interesting is that Infantry Breath works on ranged units who cannot use the Breath A skills. This is awesome for enemy phase tanks like Faye, who can just focus on stacking distant defense, and now she gets increased special cooldown to use higher cooldown specials like Aether or Glacies. Close counter users would love this buff as well, and it's very exciting to think of the possibilities for this skill. Na's a great unit herself, but Infantry Breath is its own monster to try and get. Unsurprisingly, Na is pretty much set to be a good old red dragon tank. She can stop follow-ups as long as she has a field buff on her, and with bonus doubler, you'll want to get her as many as possible. Despite her lower speed stat, bonus doubler can help improve it to a pretty respectable level with some speed buffs. While Na should be getting field buffs for Oracle Breath, she can use things like Distant Counter or Steady Breath if you like. I also think she may like Link buffs, since these can self-buff her, and you can always move Quick Repose to the Sacred Seal slot. Wave buffs or joint buffs would be awesome too for the same purpose, but it's going to be tough to lose Infantry Breath if you have other units depending on it. Overall, Na is pretty simple to use, and Oracle Breath helps a lot to reduce damage taken. Her base kit is great, but she has some room for other good skills as well. Unfortunately, Infantry Breath doesn't help her directly, but it can be a great supporting tool if you bring other enemy phase tanks to the team. That wraps up this banner breakdown. Nothing too surprising except for Infantry Breath, which I'm very excited for. If you aren't planning on summoning, a new Grand Hero battle featuring Cynthia is coming soon. I'll have a video up about her once she releases. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you guys in the next video.